talking about, guess what?
Sinking funds.
And emergency funds, the difference between the two, and everything about them.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about emergency funds and sinking funds, and for some people those might be new terms, especially sinking funds, and it's very relative because a lot of people use both of those for different options in their life. So we just felt like we should do an episode on this to give maybe a better explanation.
Maybe.
What it is. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to my dad. Like we're recording. Today is his birthday. Hi, Daddy. He is the biggest. And when I say the biggest, the greatest fan of this show.
Happy birthday, Baba Edwin.
He's been such a great support system for me, and just having him in my life is such a blessing. So happy birthday, Daddy, and I love you.
Oh, lots of love from us.
Kisses. So, emergency funds. What are these things?
Emergency funds are pretty much the bare minimum that you can save for things that could be unexpected, and we don't mean unexpected life changes. These are just like tiny bumps along the road that you wouldn't be able to overcome if you didn't have money. But this emergency fund is just gonna help you get through that period, that month, until the next time you have the cash to support yourself. Yeah, so it's like it's an emergency.
It is an emergency.
Yeah, but it's not something that,
like I cannot help myself. Due to circumstances beyond my control, this thing happened. That is an emergency.
And it's not like, oh, you didn't pay your student
loan, so they're calling you. They want to. That is not an emergency.
Yeah, because you should have known that you were supposed to pay. Like, you should have known that your bill was due. Like, this is not like, oh, you forgot to pay your student. Why do I keep saying student? Your child's school fees.
And now they're getting kicked out, so it becomes an emergency.
Yeah, these are things that you should have already had plans in place for that. This is something totally unexpected that is not going to change your life, but it's something that you need to face immediately. So that's what this emergency fund is supposed to be for.
First of all, this thought just came to mind. You need to have. We should probably do an episode on this. You need to make sure that you have appropriate insurances in place, because these really help you not become basically helpless when you're faced with big altering. Because some of these emergencies can actually alter your life, especially like something like having an accident or a fire or things like that. You need to make sure you have health insurance. You have life insurance, so that will cover your family in the event that something happens to you. So all of these things need to be in place. And the reason why you need an emergency fund is because sometimes with this insurance, you don't have access to the money right away. So you need something to cover you until you have access to that money. If you don't have insurance, I don't think any amount of emergency fund you save is going to help you.
Nothing's going to help you. I'm sorry to laugh, it's not something funny.
No, man, emergency fund is going to help. That's why people end up saving 12 months of their expenses as an emergency, because they feel like if something big happens, I'm not going to be able to cover it. But you need to be paying, and some of these insurances, the prices are ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
Especially with, I feel like the highest insurances are like home insurance and car insurance. Something like life insurance, it's crazy cheap.
My apartment insurance is
my
like
home,
$20.
I have renter's insurance, and that has helped me before. So those kind of insurances, you need it in place. And the beauty of this is that with insurances, we're hoping that you get to a point in life when you're building your wealth, where you get to where the money that you have, exactly, the money you have covers those insurances. But at this stage, you just finished paying off your debt, okay? You need an emergency fund.
Yeah, you're just starting off.
you just started.
So this is something that's just going to help you carry yourself over to the next time you have access to money, whether it's from your insurance or from your next paycheck.
So what are some of the things that you would consider are emergencies?
I would think, for me, most of them are car related. So if something happened to my car and it's not a big enough thing that I need to call my car insurance company, but it's something that I need to do now, then I would consider that an emergency that I would use my emergency fund for. There's something that I had to pay for that I did not expect to pay for, like maybe I got a ticket, like a parking ticket that I did not expect to get. And then I don't have that money in my budget because I was not expecting to get a parking ticket, and I don't have extra sources where I could like move around my funds to pay that ticket. Then I would think that that's an emergency that you could use your emergency fund for.
For me, I would obviously job loss is a big one because no one expects to lose your job unless you actually work in an industry where you know there's a cycle and you know that maybe every 2 months you're out of a job, something like that. A major disaster, like there are all kinds of disasters now that there's sometimes in Canada where they get high floods. A couple of my coworkers where their basements got flooded, so they needed to do major repairs and things like that because you can't just leave water in your basement, you just stay there. All kinds of natural disasters, there's like tornadoes and earthquakes where people lose their houses. And just the other day there was a fire in an apartment building and people were out of their houses for up to now. I think they can't even get access to their house. So you actually need money to
there's a lot
stay in a
forest
hotel
fires
and those kind of
happening
things.
nowadays.
So those kind of things are obviously not things that you foresee. So those are emergencies. And medical emergencies, I think, as well. Obviously, you need to be regularly going to the doctor, but not everyone is just walking around expecting their health to just fall apart. So what is the recommended amount you need to be saving for emergencies?
So in the beginning of the journey, you saved $1,000 to cover you off on like unexpected expenses when you're in your debt-free journey. But after your debt-free journey, you would save 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. And that would mean that you need to sit down with your budget, which you've used throughout your whole entire debt-free
you don't have a budget. I don't know what you're doing.
which you set with throughout your whole entire debt-free journey. I would even sit with 6 months of your previous budgets for your previous month. Know how your expenses go, like from summer to winter, like how your heating bill and all that stuff. Just compile all of that information. Depending on who you are, you can pick the highest numbers or the average numbers, and I would compile like all of your expenses that you need on a monthly, like on 1 month. How much do I need to spend? So if I didn't have my income, how would I survive within the month if I didn't have that income? So you compile all that and then you total it up and then you times it by the number of months that you want to save for. So if it's that month times 3 or that month times 6.
Yeah. And 3 to 6 months varies depending on your situation. So if you have more responsibilities and your situation is a little bit more unpredictable, it's obviously you want more money. And it depends on how safe you feel. Some people like to just have money sitting. So it depends on you. Like the recommended
I don't know who these people are.
you need to start listening to Dave Ramsey's podcast. There was one woman, she had like, it was like $100 and something thousand emergency fund. And then she was like, oh, should we sell the house, use the money, pay off debt, and then like, because they wanted to move and get a new house. And he's like, you have $150,000. She was like, oh, that's our 1 year emergency. I was like, you don't need that much.
No, $100K for 1 year? Who are these people? Are they in the, like, what are they doing?
Anyways, so you want to do 3 to 6 months because obviously we're going to talk about where you're putting the money to. This money, you don't want to go over 6 months at most. If you really need that padded up account, I would say at most 8 months. You don't need to go up to a year just letting money sit, because that money is not doing anything for you, because obviously you're not putting in investments, you're putting in a savings account, and savings accounts are a joke. So you don't need that much money because, like you said, you have insurances in place, and those insurances should be able to cover you if any of those things happen. You have employment insurance as well. So if you have a job loss, before that employment insurance kicks in, you know that you have, sometimes in Canada, I think it takes like almost 2 months even before people actually start getting their employment insurance. I applied for mine and mine never came and I got a job. So I never got it. So it depends on your situation. So you know that okay, you have something to cover you until that money you're expecting comes in. But what I'm trying to say is you just don't want to have a huge chunk of money sitting that is not put in an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So
And speaking of EI, if you're self-employed, make sure you figure that out because you don't want to not be able to work and then not have insurance to cover you when you need the money.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what are some of the reasons why we need an emergency fund?
Because life is unexpected, it's full of surprises. You ain't God.
Mm-hmm.
And emergencies happen, it's part of life.
Life happens. Because not everyone is as irresponsible as us when it comes to debt, where we just spend money on rubbish. Some people actually get into debt because of actual emergencies that happened in their life, and because they didn't have money, they had to get into debt. Especially people that in
Medical
other parts of the countries
emergencies.
where health insurance is, health is not free, and they have to pay a significant amount of money to cover those medical expenses, job losses, and things like that. Like because people didn't have money, they ended up getting into debt. So you're getting this emergency fund in place so that you don't have to go borrow money, and basically it gives you that security because there is security in having money stashed away, and I feel like it just gives you that.
I feel like I'm
confidence in
talking
life.
about this and I'm just like, I can't even imagine having 3 months of living expenses just sitting somewhere. Like that's just, beyond my imagination. I mean, like, I know it's gonna happen, but it's just like something that's hard to fathom. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine it, but like, I can't fathom it. Like, I can't grasp at it because I'm like, I don't even know. I don't have enough money to survive as it is where I am. But you know, God is good.
Yeah, it gives you peace of mind. It makes you a lot bolder in making decisions in life. Like the point where I had quit my job before because I knew I had money that I had been saving a little bit, and this is why savings is actually really good because then I had this contribution with my company there, and when they had that Canada savings fund, now they've stopped it even though the interest rate was ridiculous, it was nothing. But I think I was doing $50 per paycheck, and that money was what I used when I quit because when I was like, oh, I had this money that I was saving, and it was like a 2 months worth of expenses for me at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you have money stashed away, it gives you that boldness to take on chances in life. Like some people, because they have a huge mortgage, they're not able to like move jobs or take on like maybe if you're planning to start a business, obviously that's risky. A lot of people would not want to do that because they have so much debt or because they don't have any money, so they're afraid that if everything goes sideways, I'm gonna lose everything and I'm gonna like everything's just gonna fall apart. So and I feel like it just gives you that confidence and that boldness where you know that I have money and anything that happens I'm ready to take it on, like bring it. And you know what? Have you noticed? I don't know if this has happened to you. And knock on glass, not knock on wood. There's no wood here. Once you have an emergency fund, don't you realize that all these things just fizzle away? It's emergencies. Like when I was broke, it felt like things were just happening every single day. There was an emergency. Yeah. But now that I have $1,000, I have not touched that $1,000 since my debt-free journey. It's just like nothing.
I've used mine, but like I was able to replenish it like real quick. It's just that I don't know when I wasn't saved. Like before Dave Ramsey, when people complain about $1,000 is not enough, whatever. I just think to myself, I never saved before this, so why should I complain about $1,000 not being enough when I didn't even have it in the first place? Yeah. You know, the reason why we're saving the $1,000 is to build. I think it's also a training. You know what I mean? Like we're used to spending everything, living paycheck to paycheck. But now you have a whole $1,000 sitting somewhere that you cannot touch. I mean, you can touch it because it's supposed to be easily accessible. But I feel like there's some kind of discipline that it's teaching you, especially throughout this debt-free journey, because you're gonna be debt-free, and you're gonna need to save money. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have that foundation to even save $1,000, even that foundation to save the 3 to 6 months, you're not gonna be able to invest because you're gonna be like, oh, that's my money just sitting away somewhere. You don't know when. Like RSPs, you have to be 65 before you can use it. You're just like, oh my God, what is all of that money doing there for the next 30 years? Well, I'm in my 30s now and I need to party hard.
And that's another mentality people have thinking about like investments with RSPs. People feel like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I might not live forever, so why should I be investing in for 30 years from now when I don't know if I'm going to be alive? And people have that mentality where it's like, oh, why am I putting money into something that, why can't I just live for now that I know that I'm alive and just enjoy my life while I'm alive? Because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But guess what? Tomorrow is guaranteed for a lot of people.
Tomorrow is gonna come.
It is guaranteed for so many people. The devil, he works overtime. It will happen. He would. That is his main mission in this life. He's roaming around looking for how to steal, kill, and destroy. So he will, any small room that he finds, he goes in, especially when you don't have money, because he knows it's gonna hit you hard. He knows that it's gonna wreck your life when you don't have money. So he's like, okay, now I can go into that situation and just, anyways.
So like the main point is that you're building character. You're building a character that you didn't have before, because let's face it, if you're in debt, you did not have any kind of character to begin with, you know? Because, like, you're out here spending everything. I mean, if you had a character, it's a broken one. Like, it's a broken record.
I thought we already said that some people went into debt because they had no choice.
Except for the people like us. Except for the people who had no choice but to get into debt.
I don't think that's fair.
But like, when we started this podcast, Eduek, when we started this broadcast, who did we say this was for? It was for people like us who were stupid enough to not have character and to be in debt for no apparent reason. You know?
Oh,
anyway.
Man. Yeah.
So if
it
you
really does build character.
Yeah, if you are like us, you're now 12 months in your debt-free journey. You know, you've saved that $1,000 and it's been at $1,000 for the whole 12 months. Girl, the character that you've built now is gonna...
I got muscles. Some serious muscles here.
The character that you've built now is gonna be those memory muscles where no matter how many times you get punched, it's just gonna... That six-pack is gonna go back to where it was, just because you've trained it so much.
Memory. Yeah. And speaking of character, that's another reason why we talked about like tithing and things like that. Like I feel like that has been like the main foundation for me, knowing that I can consistently put 10% of my pay aside consistently. I feel like there's nothing like just being able to do that. I know that it gives you so much character, where you know that now you're a lot more diligent with your money. You know that, okay, if I say I'm going to save 5%, 5% is going to be saved. Yeah. Because now you've already built that foundation for yourself. Okay. Some people say they have an emergency fund, but it's for something else. So when is it not an emergency fund?
Well, if you have an emergency fund that is for something else, then that's probably a sinking fund at that point. Like, it's not an emergency fund. Emergency funds are for emergencies, for your immediate needs.
If you have a title on it that doesn't say emergency, then it's not an emergency fund. If you've defined what that money is for, then it's not an emergency fund anymore. Because like we keep saying, medical expenses, if you have recurring health problems,
you should have.
It's no longer an emergency. It's no longer an emergency. Like if you're already giving it a title, if you're saying, oh, I know that I'm saving for a house, so I have an emergency fund.
No, that's a
no
house
longer
fund.
An emergency. It's not an investment. So you're not putting it in. You're not trading with it. You're not putting it in the stock markets. You're not putting it in any index funds. Nothing. None of that is happening. I know for some people, those that are crazy about investments, they cannot just let their money sit and not grow. But that's why we give you that, they say 3 to 6 months. It's short a small amount of money. Well, not a small amount of money, but it's a short window because you need to be using the rest of your money for investment. So you should not be putting your emergency fund in an investment. Why?
Because you need access to it.
You need access, like you said, it's an emergency. You need the money right away.
If you've invested it in a 5-year in a 5-year GIC, then my friend, if the emergency happens today, you go wait 5 years to get that money. Unless if you're okay with being penalized for withdrawing your GICs before they're
Even
due.
that, you're not gonna get it. Like if it was something that happened on a weekend, you have to wait till Monday to get the money.
Yeah.
You need money that is it's available to you, but you don't have easy access to it. So what I'm trying to say is, you can put it in a checking account that you don't have a checkbook for. So you need, like for me, what I did is I actually put it in my tax-free savings account.
Me too.
But with my tax-free
and I have a
savings
2-day
account,
limit on it, so if something happens, you have to wait 2 days.
well, I don't have a 2-day limit, but the only thing is the bank so it was a bank that I used to use before, but I closed my account. I closed everything I had with that bank because I had serious personal issues with them. But I left my tax-free savings account, so now I don't have access to, like I don't have a checkbook, I don't have a bank card, I don't have email transfer, because that one is the worst. Like if you have access to email transfer, because even if you don't have a bank account, you can always transfer it to your regular bank. So you need something that it's not, like if I want to get money from that account, I have to walk into the bank. So for me, the distance that it would take me to drive to the bank, like if it was something that wasn't maybe not exactly an emergency, and I'm trying to take the money from the bank, I feel like that drive gives me enough time to think. I'm like, okay,
I see why you've never used your emergency fund.
I have a rational thought, like, okay, because the stress that I have to go through to take that money, like if I want the money for sure, I'm getting it, but I give myself a little bit of work to get that money.
Yeah.
So it's not like a GIC where like it's your money, but they're telling you they're not giving it to you. As soon as I walk into the bank and I say, give me my money, they're going to give it to me. But it's the process of me getting to that point that becomes the roadblock for me. Because I know that with email transfer, like, whew, that thing.
Yeah, my emergency fund is in a tax-free savings account too. But like I said, if I want that money, I need to anticipate it 2 days before the day that I need it. Otherwise, I don't have access to it. That's my kind of like block where do I really need this money, because it's going to take 2 days.
Yeah. And some banks, they let you put a hold on the account. Another easy one you can do is like with a lot of these online banks where you don't have ATMs and things like that. You can use that. But for like most of these online banks, they have email transfers. And one of the things I cannot be trusted around is a credit card. The second one is Interact transfer. You need to see the gymnastics I do all my accounts. I'm constantly moving money between all of my. I have like 4 accounts, and I keep moving money around. So if I know I have access to the email transfer with that money, I'm gonna move it. So that's just the truth. So I know myself. So that's the roadblock that I give myself, and eventually, because for my tax-free savings account, when I get to that stage where I start putting money away into investments, I want to be investing in my tax-free savings account. So I have to figure out, I'll have to move my emergency fund somewhere else. Yeah. So I have to figure out where I'm going to put that money. But for now, it's just there because I'm not investing.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
It is definitely not a credit card.
Girl, if by 12 months 12 you still haven't cut it,
an emergency fund, it's not a credit card. Credit card is not for emergencies at all.
It's for stupidity.
So please don't say I have a $20,000 credit card so I can use it for emergencies. Yeah, and another one that they actually do is the line of credit, and that's the one that I feel like they actually sell more targeted towards the emergency. A lot of banks would tell you, oh, you need to, and that's what happened to me with my bank. Like literally every debt that I've had was pre-approved. The only thing that was not pre-approved for me was my car loan. Like the $15,500 of my credit card was the bank calling me at different intervals telling me, "Oh, you've been so good. We're gonna increase your limit," and I just keep saying yes.
Listen.
Like I've never, except from that time when I was still a student, I was trying to get a credit card, and my first bank kept denying me.
Mm-hmm.
After that, once this bank, I opened the bank right away. They sent me 3,500. They kept increasing this. They kept calling me and saying they want to increase my limit. And I kept saying yes. My line of credit, I opened my account one day. They were like, "You've been pre-approved for $10,000," and I actually took it then because I was trying to save money because my my sister was trying to move here, so we were planning to like. I was like, okay, at least I have something to help her for that time, and then the money just kept. I didn't even know what happened to that thing. So that was for me. That was like,
It disappeared in thin air.
I was like, I'm just gonna take it and hold it, and then when that time comes, I can use it because it was already pre-approved. I didn't ask for it, so and then the bank when they gave it to me, they were like, oh, you can open a line of credit for you. You can use it for emergencies and blah blah blah. Not one emergency did I use it for. Not one.
Yeah, the things that you used it for were not emergencies, and
It
that's
was not
the
an
biggest
emergency
trick. Yeah, I got mine for student loans.
Yeah.
And most of my credit card, honestly, was living expenses for when I didn't have a job and then for school fees. But still, all that doesn't matter right now because I'm in debt. It doesn't matter what I used it, or like whether I had bought a designer dress or I bought food. It doesn't matter because at this point I still have to pay it back, no matter how well educated I am. It's still something that I owe and it needs to be gone.
Yeah.
You know?
At the end of the day, it's debt that you're incurring. Yeah. So even if, no matter how you want to rationalize it, always remember that it's debt.
Yeah. Even if you borrowed money to adopt a child, at the end of the day, you still have to pay that money. You know, no matter who you saved from the pits, the belly of the underworld.
From the belly of the whale.
You know? Yeah. You still have to pay that debt, and that's the reason why debt isn't good because it's like. The worst part about debt is you've already spent that money.
And now you're just paying. You're borrowing from your future.
Yeah.
To pay for something.
And that's the part
from
that
years
hurts
and years
most.
in your future.
It hurts so much.
Like all of this debt that I incurred, it was about a year. And then it's taking me forever to pay it. So like imagine for people that don't even have a plan. A lot of people are in debt like their whole life. You're taking literally your whole life to pay for something that only happened to you for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like weight loss. The way you gain weight, you eat 2 slices of pizza, but working it off is like 2 months. Girl,
it's
come
hard.
to your senses. Get on the diet.
Yeah. So some of the things we've already talked about when you shouldn't use it. So I feel like for anything that is more frequent in your life, like if you have regular car maintenance, you have a reoccurring health issue, you know that you have consistent job layoff, like some people that work in manufacturing, like the industry that I'm in, towards the Christmas time they get laid off for like a particular time because most companies don't want to pay them the holiday pay. So things like that, you already know. Cool. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, but for some people that don't, especially those that get paid like hourly rate because they're not paid a salary. So if you don't work, you don't get paid, right? So if you don't have a company that gives you benefits like vacation and things like that, you lose that pay because you're not working. So yeah, so you need to be covering for those seasons, and so you need to be pre-saving.
You need to know the seasons
because you know that this is expected. So this is, I feel like that no longer becomes an emergency because you know that it always happens. Like the things you need to save for. Christmas is not an emergency.
Birthdays are not an emergency.
Anniversaries are not an emergency. Your wedding is not an emergency. You having a kid is not an emergency.
Yeah.
That baby has been cooking for 9 months.
Yeah, unless if you're on one of those shows that didn't know I was pregnant.
How?
Haven't you seen that on TLC? Like, I didn't know I was pregnant. And then it's like a whole story of how they didn't know that they were pregnant until the day they gave birth.
Wow. That must have been an easy pregnancy then, for you not to know.
No, maybe they felt uncomfortable, but they didn't know exactly what was happening.
Wow. Yeah. Moving jobs, relocating, things like that are not in, like, things like that are things that I feel like people put a lot of thought and planning to. Like, if you're moving cities, you know that It's something that you've been researching. You're looking for houses in the area, looking for jobs in the area. So you're not just doing it overnight. So things like that are not an emergency. Yes, it's
Unless if
okay
your
for
job
you
was
to-
like, you're gone, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we need you at this location. But then, if your job does that, then chances are they're paying you for the...
like to relocate
Yeah.
for a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or at least a percentage.
Yeah,
they'll
most
pay.
jobs will pay for your
Mhm.
relocation if they're the ones asking you to relocate
Mhm.
for the job. And a rule of thumb for emergency fund is to always replenish it whenever you end up using it for your emergency situation. So if you set that limit for yourself, say 6 months, that is what you decided that is going to be your emergency fund. If you deplete it to maybe 3 months, you always need to get back to your cap, which is the 6 months. So once you've taken care of that situation, you're back on track, you need to replenish your emergency fund. So let's talk about the second part, which is sinking funds.
Mhm.
What is sinking funds?
So sinking funds are expenses relating to things that you can foresee, but you need to save for.
Mm-hmm.
So things like things that we talked about. So if you're expecting to have a baby, if you are expecting to have a wedding, if you're expecting to buy a new car, these are things that you can start saving for in advance so that when the day comes, you have an ample amount of money
Mhm.
to use towards these things. And the reason it's called a sinking fund is because at the end of the day, it's gonna go down to zero.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there are some sinking funds that are recurring annually. So like if you have a Christmas fund, chances are you're gonna be saving the same amount every year.
Mhm.
But like there's things like if, for example, for a wedding where it's just a one-time thing, where or like if you're buying a car, it's just a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're in and you're out, and that's it. And that sinking fund just closes and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So this needs to be part of your budget, where monthly, or I guess wherever your frequency is, you take money out of your monthly pay to go to all of these different sinking funds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that you've defined, and that you have due dates for, and that you have set reminders for, and yeah, that you're fully aware of.
Yeah. So like Chite said, it's something that like emergencies are not planned and sinking funds are
Or
planned.
planned, yeah.
See anything that is not an emergency.
Yeah. And it's not hindering
Which is
you.
pretty much life, everything in life.
Yeah, and it's not hindering you from your goal. So like whatever baby step you're in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a sinking fund should not hinder your ability to save 3 to 6 months of emergency
Mhm.
expenses. It needs to be able to work alongside it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like if you've already saved 3 to 6 months of expenses, then go crazy on your sinking funds. But like if your next baby step is investing, then you need to allow room for investing while you're doing your sinking funds. They need to go alongside your baby steps and not derail you.
Yeah,
from,
your baby steps should be your priority in your
Mhm.
planning.
But if you're having like a baby, for example, then all your money should be going to that. That's the same thing to do.
Yeah. Well, we keep saying if you're having a baby, I feel like things like having a baby stuff that like you're gonna have that baby forever. So at some point it just becomes part of your budget. The
Yeah.
only reason why you would be saving a significant amount of money is just maybe those unforeseen like medical costs, like you don't know if there are gonna be complications and things like that. And then, but if you're having a baby, you need to adjust your budget because that baby's gonna be in your life for a while. So your budget needs to be adjusted. Like you're not creating a sinking fund where like, oh, I need to keep replenishing this sinking fund for this baby. But once you have the baby and things, and a lot of people might do that, maybe they're having their first child where they've not gotten a grasp of what it's gonna cost them. So maybe after 3 to 6 months, you figured out, okay, this is how much diapers cost. This is how much baby formula costs. And this is how much this baby is costing me every month. And then you adjust your budget to fit in that baby. As simple as that. So that sinking fund that we keep talking about, like if you're having a baby, is just for that first instant where like you're pregnant and you don't know what could happen. So it's good to have like money in case something happens. And then after the baby comes and life starts, you have to create room for that baby in your budget. It no longer becomes a sinking fund.
Yeah, or an emergency, I guess.
So you can use it for, what are some things we can use it for? Like we've mentioned a couple of things. You can use it for large purchases, like if you want to buy a car, if you want to buy, even for some people, we can use that like a down payment is some form of sinking fund. Like if you're going back to school, you can start an education sinking fund. It's basically a savings account with a purpose. And another thing about sinking funds is that you can actually make it part of your budget. And this is what I do because a lot of my sinking expenses are things that only happen, like your one-time expenses for me. So I just end up putting it in my budget. Like I don't create a separate account where I'm putting money. So for me, what I usually do is if I know I have something coming up, like with my professional exams and like applying for my citizenship and all those things I knew were gonna happen, I knew when those things were gonna happen in the month. So I put it in because I always do my budget per month. So for that month, I put it already in that budget, and I knew that for that month, maybe these were the things that had to go away from my budget for me to be able to do that thing. So.
Yeah, for me, my sinking fund, like I have a car fund that is a monthly expense that I put away just because I don't know when I'm going to have a car emergency, and my car is older, so the frequency that I visit the garage is more often than most people. So my fund is something that is part of my budget, but it's something that comes out of my budget every month because I needed to do that because I don't know how much I'm going to spend at the garage.
Yeah.
But I just need to have, and I know like the sinking fund is not going to cover the full expense, but at least I know that the amount that I'm saving in 2 months, I can change my tires.
Yeah.
In 2 months, I can change my brakes without having a hesitation. But if there's something bigger happening behind the scenes, then at least I have enough to supplement my emergency fund to fix that thing that's happening in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to start doing, and I do this with some of my insurances, is actually saving to be able to pay off your premiums. Because I hate having monthly bills. So I'm the kind of person like, I like to pay everything up front. So with most of my insurances, like my renter's insurance, it's like $200 and something for the entire year. So instead of me having that $20 payment every month, I'd rather just pay it off in like when it comes due. You can start a sinking fund. Like for me, I can easily make room for that thing when it comes due in my budget. But what I want to do now is stuff like my car insurance. I want to be able to pay it off when it comes due for the year instead of having a monthly insurance payment. So you can create a sinking fund where it's going to be all of your yearly premiums. Yep. And like family events, like if someone in your family is getting married as well, it's not just you, you can start saving. Like
that's my next big sinking fund. I'm so excited.
Like birthdays,
yeah,
anniversaries, things like that.
Yeah, and just have a good picture of what's happening because things happen. Like there was times when I had to travel for like graduations, and I had to make room within that month just because I didn't have a sinking fund for that. I didn't want to get into debt to travel, so I had to maneuver my way around my budget in order to do the things that I needed to do. So sometimes you can fit it within your monthly budget, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's gonna cost you at this point, I guess, if you're done with paying your debts, then woohoo, you have all the money in the world to maneuver around. But when you're paying debts, whatever extra money that you're spending on not paying debts is costing you. So you need to be really careful with how you're handling things.
Yeah. So, like you said, a good rule of thumb would be making it part of your budget. So, if you know that it's something that recurs all the time, just throw it in your budget, make it part of your budget. So it's something that you have to budget for. Even if it's money that you're getting like a pay increase or you're getting some kind of bonus, and you know you want to use that bonus to travel, for example, you still need to plan it out because sometimes you might say, oh, it's going to cost me $5,000 to travel, but it would not cost you $5,000. It might end up costing you $8,000. So you need to be able to have a solid plan for what you're using that money for. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to just throw money into, because like we said, we want you to put as much money as you can into a good investment. So you're not just saving money for no purpose. You're not just saving money because you just want to have money in the bank. And don't sacrifice your debt payment to have a sinking fund. So it needs, like Chite said, it needs to be in alignment with your baby steps. And yes, you can pause your baby steps sometimes for like major things, but don't go pausing your baby steps for every single thing. Like you have that graduation, so I'm going to pause my baby steps. I have a vacation, so I'm going to pause my baby steps. My friend's getting married, so I'm going to pause my baby steps. No, you can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
So you need to have, like, you need to figure out what your priority is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go about saying, oh, I have the sinking fund that I need to start, so I don't have enough money to do this and do my debt payment. If you don't have enough money to do your debt payment and that sinking fund, then maybe you don't need to do that thing.
Don't do it.
Here we go again.
Wow, we made it this far into the episode without saying don't do it.
Yes, so, anywho.
So yeah, my next biggest sinking fund is saving for my professional exams I'm doing next year and my baby sister's wedding.
Yay!
Yeah, we're gonna party hard in Newfoundland.
Yes. For me, I don't really have anything. I just always feel that I can move my budget around. Like, there's so many things I already have in my budget that I can sacrifice. But when I have something more pressing that comes up. So for now, I don't have a sinking fund. The only sinking fund I might consider doing, like I said, is for my yearly premiums. But I'm not going to do that until I'm debt free, because I'm just going to put money aside that could be going to my debt.
Yeah.
Like right now, honestly, I just want to pay off all my debt. Like, oh yeah. I actually have one sinking fund, and that is going to be for my sister. I'm not going to go into details, but around July, I need to start a sinking fund for her, but that's it. And yeah, that's the only thing. But anything else at this point, there's nothing more pressing than my debt that I need to focus on, and that's my number one.
Yeah, but you have a bigger room in your budget to do that. I have nothing in my budget, so I need to say.
Yeah, that's why I have like all my cosmetics and my hair and all those self-care items that I can just scrap. And just scrap it.
Yeah. So I think those can carry over from month to month. Like, so you can probably extend your hair products for 2 to 3 months versus.
If you've noticed. I've been doing that for a while now because I haven't worked any overtime for a while, so I've been scraping by. Still trying to hit my 5% goal. It's been hard. Life has been hard.
Life has been tough lately. We've been realizing some things.
Oh man.
How unrealistic some things are. But with God's help we'll get there. And that's the whole point of the journey. It's not perfect, but as long as you reach the finish line, that's what matters the most.
Okay. Yeah, so hopefully you have a little bit of understanding of what you can use for emergencies and what you can use your sinking fund for. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a road trip fund. You can give it your own name. It doesn't have to be a sinking fund. So,
or a floating fund, I don't know.
Your money. Whatever you want to call it. So just have fun with it and
enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
The whole point is for you to not just throw money left and right, to have a plan for your money. And the only way you can succeed at money is to have a plan for every cent that you make.
Preach. Everything we talk about is we're trying to get you to that point where you always have a plan so that you never have to go into debt. Because you're always on top of it. You're always 2 steps ahead of everything that is coming. You have something coming, you're planning for it and you're saving for it. That's how you stay out of debt, because when you don't plan for those things, that's why people put weddings on credit, because they don't plan. You've been engaged for 5 years, you're gonna get married someday. How are you not saving for this thing? Anywho, follow us on all our social media at Slice of a Dime. Send us an email if you have questions. If you have questions about what we just talked about, if it's still confusing to you, or you have certain scenarios that you feel are justifiable and you need to ask someone, you can ask us, and we'll try to help you out. We don't know everything, but we'll try. So we'd love to hear from you at